He's going to help me go through the trenches so that I always am humbled to him, you know? So, but we found out it was in both of my eyes. They did a couple experimental treatments and told me there was nothing they could do. It wasn't going away. It was getting worse. My cancer was now stage 4 and rebelled the treatment options, which is typically the end of your life for a cancer patient. I went to UNC, which is another university here in North Carolina, and they were known for their cancer hospital. So I said, I'm not ready to give up. I don't feel in my heart I am done. And they did, I met with a doctor, and they did another eye exam, confirmed everything that Duke had already told me, and then also told me I had over 50 brain tumors.
Oh, dear.
And I had went from about 130 pounds, not a very big person, and down to about 90 pounds. I couldn't eat. I was getting sick for months. And they said, you have about 3 months to live with treatment. After they found out it was in my brain, they ordered a full-body PET scan, which shows any cancer activity. It'll light up like a light bulb in your body, wherever it is. And ready? They found it in both of my eyes, my brain, my spine, my sacrum, my pelvis, my bones, my lungs, my heart, my adrenal glands, and I think that's about it. I think I covered everything almost.
Wow, Jiminy Christmas.
And it was just, it had spread with a vengeance. It was back. You know, I was confined to a wheelchair because I had lost so much muscle in losing weight. I had a motorcycle. I love motorcycles. And I sat in my wheelchair and just kind of looked at it like my life is over. You know, this sucks. And I talked to my husband, and before we had started treatment again, because that's just what I do, I fight. And I felt called to fight as well. For some reason, God said to me, you're not done. Keep going. I'm not finished. Keep going. And I'm like, are you kidding me? How much do you think I made of steel? Like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind, literally. So I talked to my husband, and we decided it was time to tell my daughter what was going on. She noticed the bald head. She was, you know.
Yeah, how old was she then?
3 at this time. Yeah, she was 3. Almost 4. And, Mom, where's your hair? Well, my medicine took it. That's all I could, you know, say to her. And she said, well, I don't want to take medicine then.
Oh.
And I said, well, your hair's not going to fall out. Mine's a special kind. And she said, okay. So that night I'm going to probably cry.
Go ahead.
I had the hardest conversation with my daughter. And as I was teaching her about Jesus, I was learning myself. So the VeggieTales Bible made more sense to me than anything else in the world. So I was learning with her. And so we would read kind of a section every night. And I said, you know, where does Jesus live? And she said, well, he lives in heaven. He lives up in the clouds. And I said, that's right. And I said, do you know what angels are? And she says, yes, they have beautiful wings. And I said, that's right. And I said, but can you see angels? And she says, no, I dream about them, though. And it was just so candid, and it kind of lightened it a little for me. And I kind of smiled, and I said, well, Mommy's going to be an angel. And you're not going to see me, but I'll never miss anything. I will always be there, and you will see me in your dreams. I said, how do you feel? And she said, does that mean you're going to fly? And I kind of laughed, and I said, probably. And she thought that was so cool. My mom's going to be an angel. And
yes.
And so she kind of warmed up to it eventually, and, you know, now she'll, well, not now, but, you know, a few months after that, she kind of realized, oh, my mom's sick, and that's why she's going to be an angel. And so she started to tell me every night, I don't want you to go. I don't want a new mommy. And I said, okay, well, you have to pray about it then. Mm-hmm. And every night we'd say our prayers, and she'd say, and Lord, please don't take my mommy. Make her hair grow back. That was like her line of whether I was sick or whether I was well, as if mommy had hair. And so, please let her hair grow back. I was like, yeah, that would be nice, And so she said that, and it melted my heart that my daughter really, with a child, you can only teach them so much. They're going to do their own thing, and the fact that she knew to pray to God that he was going to heal me she was more advanced than I was in her faith, and that was to come from a child. I know that he hears their prayers always, and I was like, great, I got children on my side, we're going to do this, and she was my best friend. She knew when mommy was sick, she'd climb up in my bed and watch movies with me all day, and she had a little doctor kit. She'd take my blood pressure, not really, nice. But
Yeah.
And my temperature, tell me what I had, and she'd say, okay, you need water. And she'd go downstairs and grab a bottle of water and come up. And it was funny. One time I don't know if this means I'm a good parent or a bad parent, but one time I was joking around and I said, mommy needs a beer. And she went downstairs in the fridge and grabbed me a beer.
Of course, why not?
And stood up, and I was like, oh no, you know what that is. Put it back. I was just kidding. But, yeah, she kind of lightened it a little, but we would leave for UNC weeks at a time for treatment. I was going through full brain radiation.
What is that? What is full brain radiation?
So what they do is your first appointment, they put this mask on you, and it's soft, so it forms to your face, and they lock your head down on this table, and it's
wow.
If you have what's that called? Where you don't
claustrophobia.
Like space? Yeah, claustrophobic. Mm-hmm. You need to take some Xanax because you're gonna lose your mind. They put this mask on you, and it has little holes in it, and then they lock it down to this table, and they let it set and harden. And once it hardens, they take it off, and every treatment they put this mask back on. And what it does is it guides the machine on where to give you that radiation.
So it kind of allows the machine to follow a map of your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And they were just going to shoot at my brain and not worry about side effects, really, because I had 3 months to live anyway. We were just trying to get more time. So over 50 tumors. I lost my hair rather quickly because radiation will also make you lose your hair. And I went blind in my right eye. And I was scared because now I had one eye. But we kept going. We got through it. We'd stay a week in a hotel. They'd put us up in a nice hotel, but we were a week away from my daughter. So my mother-in-law moved back here with us and would stay with her all week and take her to preschool and all that while my husband and I were up about 2 hours away from home all week, and we'd come home on Fridays for the weekend. And I would typically lay in bed. I was pretty useless at that point. I mean, for lack of a better term, I could just kind of lay there, and I was awake maybe 4 hours out of the entire day and night, and we tried to make the most of that, but I couldn't really go anywhere, just very weak.
Did you ever reach a point where you asked God just to get it over with, to take you?
It's funny. Yes, I did. In fact, I would hold my breath and pray that he would just take me, because what's the point? You know, it was easier at one point to go than to fight. And I just wanted to be done. I was excited, actually, about dying. It was going to be over. No more pain, no more hurt, no more emotional strain, no more, anything. It was, the more I learned about heaven, the more I was ready, and I said, this is my third time. I'm done. I've had needles poked everywhere, including my eyeballs. I'm done. Take me. I can't do it anymore. when I would pray about that, I'd get this feeling and that God was saying, I'm not ready for you yet. And eventually, I got to the point of weakness to where my heart stopped. I code blue. Thankfully, I was at UNC, and they had to drain 650 milliliters of fluid off of my heart to restart it. I had a seizure, and it had stopped my heart, and that's how they got it to start again. And I remember waking up while they had all these tubes coming out of my chest and everything, and I had to stay in the cardiac ICU for about a week. And I remember laying in that hospital bed again and saying, God, well, take me. You know, this is awful. Now I'm in a hospital, and I have all these scars, more problems. Yeah, and the answer changed. It was, I will take you, but you're not ready. And I was like, really? I'm not? Because I'm pretty sure I'm asking you to take me.
Really? What a reply.
Right. And I kept getting it. I no longer got, I'm not ready for you. I will take you, but you're not ready. You're not ready. And slowly, things started happening. That was kind of like the peak of the fight for me, was that moment. I finished radiation, and I had 12 brain tumors left. And they explained to me that's probably the best it'll get. I started seeing a cognitive therapist, which they helped try to regain a lot of my memory. I would tell the same story every 5 minutes and all of that, and they would help me. It was like therapy. So that's what I did. And I slowly, started to accept the fact that, okay, let's enter the next part of my fight, which was chemotherapy. And what that was going to do is attack the cancer in my body. And chemo can't cross the blood-brain barrier, which means chemotherapy does not go to your brain. So I was stuck with those 12 brain tumors. And I was due back in 3 months to the university for another brain scan just to see, okay, are we going to start radiation again? Are we going to leave it alone? What are we going to do? I finished my chemotherapy. My cancer was responding. It was stabilizing, which is more than what we could have asked for. And I was happy with that. I was still in a wheelchair, but I was awake more. I was able to color with my daughter, do puzzles, things like that, interact with her, and it was great. And she thought it was awesome because when we grocery shopped, I had to use Amigos, so she got like a free ride. She wanted to see her. She always made it funny to me and kept my sense of humor, I guess. And I finished the 3 months of chemo, and I went back to the university, and my doctor came in and looked at me, and I said, just tell me. I've already heard it. Just tell me what's going on. And he said, Kasey, you don't have any brain tumors.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at him. I'm getting the chills right now. And I said, what? And he said, it looks like your brain was never touched by cancer. There's not even scarring anywhere. There's nothing. And I said, let me see this scan. And I took a picture of it with my phone, and I brought it back, to Goldsboro, where I live, 2 hours away, and I showed my oncologist. I said, look, I don't have any brain tumors. The chemotherapy worked. And he said, honey, chemotherapy doesn't go to your brain. And I was like, oh, my gosh. God healed me. Oh, my gosh, he's not done with me. There was even my doctor said, you are a miracle. He said, whatever you're doing, keep praying. And for my doctor to bring that in a medical setting, you don't usually see that cross between religion and science. You just don't. And
Kasey, you are a living miracle. And I am so happy I'm so thankful that you're alive.
Thank you. I am too.
So